Jimmy Cat's 5150 interview series in Bulldozer Magazine here in lovely city of Glendale at the complex, awaiting the total ritual of wait and welcoming back Chicago, Illinois' Bongripper. How you guys doing?
Good. Doing well.
Why don't you introduce yourselves?
My name's Ron. I play bass.
I'm Dennis. Play guitar.
Last year, there was a festival that happened in Orange County called the Day of the Shred by Thief. Amazing event. But one of the things that stood out about that event was your first West Coast appearance. And boy, was that show amazing. I had the pleasure of seeing you play live, and I'm still grasping what I observed. Let's talk a little bit in depth for those that are not familiar with Bongripper, which I don't see how that's possible. You are a quartet playing extreme, real heaviness with no vocals.
Yeah. No vocals. None needed.
How did that come about?
Well, we were in another band. Our singer moved back to Detroit, where he was from, and then our drummer's double bass pedal broke. So we just started playing Doom.
So your singer left and your drummer's double bass broke, and you decided to play Doom.
Yeah.
When you first thought about not having vocals in your music, and I'm being serious now, was it because are you finding it similar here in the West Coast with prima donna lead vocalists and all the bullshit? It's hard to find real vocalists that are down to earth and easy because, or maybe I'm wrong, because you are from Chicago. That's a blue collar, down to earth working man town. Why did you decide to have no music, no vocals in your music?
At first, we were more of like improv Doom, where there was no like structure to our songs whatsoever. We had a riff, and then we would just jam on it for half an hour.
Yeah.
So that person was just going to stand on stage looking like an idiot. That's basically what it boiled down to. Yeah, a bigger idiot than So we just didn't need one, and then from there our songs started evolving, and we started structuring everything, and then we kind of had to focus on playing music without a vocalist.
Right. This is what's very interesting. For those of you that are familiar with Bongripper, everyone has a different interpretation of your music. As we know, the heavy doom genre has gotten very popular, but I don't even classify you guys as that, because your music goes beyond just heaviness. Here in the West Coast, everyone focuses on just being heavy. Your music is similar, and it reminds me of like a 70s psychedelic heaviness band, because if you really sit and listen, there's a lot going on, man. And what's amazing is it captivates the audience without a front vocalist doing those antics. Was it like that in the beginning, though? When you first started playing?
I think, if anything, we relied a lot on just putting on intense live shows, especially in like the more jam days, because we were just making it up. We literally would go into shows with one riff and then hope to hell that we got to the end of the set. So usually it just ended into like a huge wall of noise and us throwing instruments and being violent and stupid. So I think that helped make a name for ourselves in like live communities and such. When it comes to vocals, though, I mean, if you look at our song titles, we don't have a lot to say. So, having more than, the one word that we use to describe things, that still takes a lot of effort for us. So it is what it is.
I think one of the things in present day that most musicians have difficulty with is the attention span of the viewer. And in some cases, the listener. But there is still a loyalty when someone decides to put a vinyl or fucking iPod, whatever. But watching the show, there really seems to be a problem where they take their pictures and then they're texting, and then they're like, oh wow, this is still going on. Unlike real music fans who get and grasp what you're doing, and they get caught up in the Bongripper roller coaster that you're providing. Some with cannabis influence, some like myself without. Do you notice that now more, or now that the band has opened up to a wider audience, do you notice that You're not dealing with that aspect.
I don't know.
Hard to say.
I'm not really.
As stupid as I look, that's a good question.
No, it is. It's
I see that all the time, dude. But
sometimes I don't even look at the crowd for an entire hour.
did you notice?
I really I look at all the other guys and I don't even pay attention to what's going on.
When you first played last year at the Day of the Shred, I was captivated and blown away that every motherfucker was focused on the stage. I've never seen that before. It was amazing. It really was. And there's a lot of great bands that really go into.
I mean, have you seen Ron? Ron's sexy as hell.
That's true. I can't deny that. But
I was at Boy George last night at Culture Club, so you might not want to tell me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. A lot of times, I mean, I'm in the same boat with Dennis here in that, like, when we're playing, you kind of just get into a zone, for the lack of a better term, and not necessarily paying attention to the room, but, like, you definitely feed off a room. But I've definitely noticed, like, over the last few years that, like one of my favorite stories is one of our first shows. We played this, like, metal festival, and I use that term loosely, back at our college. That it was just like a bunch of, like, local bands and then us, but it was like a bunch of, like, jock bro, like, hardcore bands, like breakdown, beatdown, like, we're gonna mosh and, like, be angry, and then us playing our one riff for 30 minutes, and we played it, and there was about, like, 40 or 50 kids in the room when we started, and by the time we ended, there was one person left, which was Dennis's. Oh no, I think it was his friend or his cousin. I don't remember. But
actually, my cousin showed up to that show and she left.
Oh yeah, okay, she left. Okay, so yeah, we couldn't even keep family members in the room. But, like, now I notice that, like, I'll, like, kind of, like, look up at a crowd and see, like, what the room looks like, and then halfway or near the end of the set, look back up and see if the room's still there, and if they're still there, it's like, all right, we did something good. So
I think what really the essence of the band is you really take it back to the old school element. You let the music do the talking.
Yeah.
And right now, people are listening and they're enjoying it. When you're writing Bongripper music, though, is that something that's difficult to do, or is it easy for you to just go in? Because I notice when you're playing on stage, as you mentioned, you guys all seem to click very well, and even though you're not excluding the audience, that's something that you're on your own ride. They're on their own fucking high. You're on your own magic trip. When you're writing music, though, how do you capture that in the writing session?
It just feels right. That's the simplest way to put it. Usually it's just like, we hear a riff, yep, that's a good one, keep it. Let's expand on it, let's go that way with it, or no, that's dumb.
You nurture it.
Yeah. It usually starts, every song usually starts with a riff, and it just kind of goes from there. And it's usually the intro riff.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, we don't, like, oh, we'll add that later. It's usually the intro riff, that's what we start with.
very, very rarely do we ever, like, come up with a middle part or something before we've started with the beginning.
Yeah.
Although a lot of times, like, we'll write a riff, and if it makes us laugh as a band, that means it's ridiculous enough to make it into a song.
Like it's like a 13-year-old girl giggle. It's like, you know, like when you throw on, like, your first metal record and you're like, this is amazing. I hate everyone. It almost get that kind of feeling. You're like, yeah, I'm a grown man. I still get. And you're like, okay, that means we got to keep that.
This part's ridiculous enough to keep. So.
Actually, you know what? I like that. I like that example, that metaphor, because really, what it is music, real music lovers creating music.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's not even just like you were saying before. There's like a psychedelic feel to us, but I think that just comes from everything that we listen to, because we don't listen to I haven't listened to a Doom record in probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
I can tell.
Yeah, it's few and far between. I'll listen to everything.